The body.
Can we have a little emotion?
Yeah!
Thank you. Y'all look damn good.
Woo!
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? We are so happy to see so many community faces, so many black and brown faces, so many allied faces in this space, in this moment. Thank y'all for coming to this talk back. We want to give y'all as much as we can in as little time as possible because we know that this beauty here is tired and she needs a nap.
I don't know now, but I'm gonna eat before the second show.
But we want to come and open up the door to have a conversation, honest conversation, as always, as we're known for, about what it means to be here in this moment, in this space, on this stage, and representing so many people, and being the voice for so many people that once were told that we would never see this moment. And so I wanna just jump right into it. First and foremost, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Miss Hope Giselle.
All right.
Woo!
I am an author, activist, advocate, and artivist out here in these streets. I like to do what I can when I can for the people who love me back.
Yes.
Right? Mr. You wanna go ahead?
I'm E.C. Pizarro III. I'm the
All
executive director of TransTech Social Enterprise, as well as creative director and brand designer.
I'm Angelica Ross.
Just throwing it out there. So I want to direct the first question to you, Angelica. When the folks reached out and said, we want you as Roxy, first thought.
My first thought was, wow, wait, do they mean, because at first they were like, Chicago wants to see if you'd be willing to do the show. And I was like, wait, so my first thought was, Roxy? Like the lead? Because I know they ain't calling me for that now. Roxy the lead? No, I'm just joking, but you know, Roxy the lead? And they were like, yeah, they just want to do a test, have you meet with the vocal coach and meet with the dancers and see if this is something that's in your body and that you want them to do. And I was just like, yes, I felt the universe was aligning. I was returning to the music space. Those of you who know me from my MySpace days.
Take it back.
And I was strumming my guitar on YouTube and stuff like that and doing the open mics and all that. And then to releasing my song Fierce and then releasing Only You and then doing the Disney Pride special. So it just like was aligning musically and then they called and I was like, look at God. Right.
So when we entered this space, right, you got past all of those things. You said yes, the checks and things were cut, money was moving, right?
Not right away, but
they got it moving. Right, they got it moving. Now we're here. And I think that one of the questions that a lot of us might have is, when you know that the folks are coming, when you know that community is coming because they see themselves in you and they want to see themselves on that stage through you, what are those feelings that first night when that curtain goes up and you know that it's showtime?
I, to be honest, I was extremely nervous the first time. And more so because the way that rehearsal goes is the show doesn't stop. The show goes on 8 shows a week. So when you're coming into a show, they're still running the show and you're doing the show with the director and with the dance captain and they go back and forth between playing Amos and the other roles and what have you. So you're in the studio. A lot of times I was on the stage and I got to hop onto the ladder, which was terrifying the first time. And I didn't get to do the show with the entire ensemble and with the lights off and with my mic to know like what the projection was gonna be like. I didn't get to do that until the day of my performance. So Monday, my first performance at 1 p.m., it was what they call like a put-in. And so they just put me in with the rest of the cast. There's no audience, and we go through the show. First time, I fell in the bandstand over there, just because I was just not used to the lights being on and different things happening. So I was like, okay, thank God this happened when nobody was here. And just also, to be honest too, I played it extremely safe the first week or two, I think that I was here. So the numbers, Roxy and my own best friend were actually a whole step lower the first time that I did them because I just wanted to get in and I wanted to make sure everything was cute. I didn't want to have no moments, you know what I'm saying? I was reaching for something that didn't happen. But as you know, as the night went on, and I felt so much love. The audience was packed with family, with friends, with community, and I just felt so much love, and I felt like I couldn't do any wrong, and that was wonderful. I felt like all I had to do was show up, and people were going to recognize the work that I put into show up. And so now I was like really happy for y'all to see like the evolution of the show as well, and to see like after I've done it for a few weeks, you know, the sister's more comfortable.
I mean, I came that first night and I would have never known any of that. So I mean, one of the things that I noticed was that your confidence, you command every room, every screen that you step on. But seeing you live and in the moment and making those artistic choices and having the time to give us a little bit of community in the moment feels so good.
Did y'all catch that?
Yeah! But let's talk about community and let's talk about visibility and what does this mean for you and how do you think that it will serve the community past this moment, past this November 7th date? What do you think that it's going to do for the folks out there like us who didn't feel like this was possible?
Well, I think, first of all, you know, I appreciate a lot of the publicity and the press that I earned.
100%.
Because what nothing paid for. You understand what I'm saying? It's earned media. So I lost my train of thought. Wait, what was your question?
It's a lot of earning, girl.
Right, the visibility, what do you think the visibility is?
Yes. So, you know, I really earned this space and this spot. But there's been so much conversation, and when we know in media is always trying to control the narrative, spin the narrative, say certain things, whatever. So I know y'all know that it didn't come from my mouth that Angelica is the first anything, because that's not how I talk. So I don't talk about the first because we know that really it could be any of us because it's so past due. So being the first is yes, it's an accomplishment, but it's also, I know that I have so many other sisters working in the wings, waiting for their moment. And so to kind of be like, oh, I'm the first or whatever, yes, some of that is to be celebrated, because when you think about it, saying that I was the first lead and what have you, it brought up a lot of like semantics.
Yeah.
Well, there was this person in this show, and there was this person in that show, and listen, I went to see Peppermint and celebrate that moment when she was in Head Over Heels.
Yes.
But let's call a thing a thing, and y'all know how I am. So let's just call a thing a thing, and we know that me standing here as Roxy, as the lead in the musical, not, you know, a principal where they can fit in, okay, we can do, but no, the one who you're supposed to be maybe rooting for, who's supposed to make you feel something to change, and all those different things, that I'm standing centered. And that is something to be celebrated, because we are not often centered. But that does not take away, and y'all know my heart. It doesn't take away from anything that anyone has ever done that comes before me, because I know that I stand on their shoulders.
Okay. Speaking of the shoulders that you stand on, for folks like me that want to create space and that have been creating space with our nonprofits and those things before, and simultaneously, right? As you are being Miss Ross, as you are being Roxy, as you are being a singer, a songwriter, producer, all of those things, follow the SoundCloud. All of those things, you are also a businesswoman. You're also out here opening up things like TransTech, things that I have benefited from, so get into it, right? And things that other trans folks have benefited from, and you've also employed our people, right? So one, what was your inspiration behind it? And then two, for you, how does it feel to work under someone who does have this power, who trusts you with her vision and to make that happen?
Well, you know, I will say that I started TransTech from a very simple place, and you know, I started TransTech around the time that some of you may remember or may not remember. There was an event called the Trans 100. Yes. And you know, there was a lot of drama with that event. But the drama from that event really hit hard with me in my heart because I could see what was happening. And what was really happening was the first time we had the Trans 100, it was a great celebration, great energy going into it. And then you had a lot of egos that were just like, wait, I'm not on the list. I've been doing X, Y, and Z. Cause I'm gonna be honest, I kind of was one of them in the beginning, but I wasn't like really out there about it. I was just like, oh, I'm not on the list, okay. But with that, what I realized was there was 100 people that I didn't know their worth. Some of them I knew, but there were so many people on the list I didn't know, and I didn't know what work they were doing. And it was almost as if sometimes with our trans community, because of the sort of limited perspective sometimes, the crabs in the barrel, that whole kind of thing, we can't see beyond the moment. We know that in ways in which we make decisions about our livelihood and all kind of things, we can't see past the moment and see that next year there's going to be another 100. And so there was so much infighting within our community, and it has been for a long time. And so when I started TransTech, it was around that time. And so there were some people who didn't really trust me and where I was coming from and what I was doing. It became about my quote unquote passability, my perceived privilege, me talking about jobs and things for the trans community. And people like, you're fine. Like, what? You're rich. And I was like, hold up, y'all. First of all, I'm poor. like dirt poor. I'm just a black trans woman. Who knows how to make it look good.
Make it look good.
Like I had some girls that I was working with, and they were like, must be nice to be wearing these cute dresses to work every day. This is when I was in the nonprofit. And I was like, this dress costs less than your weave, darling. This dress, let's be real, this dress was from Rainbow. And it was $15. I just make it look good.
Come on, Rainbow.
Say it again.
How do you counteract that?
Counteract what?
The people saying, oh, you do this because you're passable, or you get by because of this. How do you professionally let them know in a nice way, hey girl, it ain't giving that?
Right. To be honest, I made space for their doubt. I made space for their questions. I did not dismiss their feelings and the things that they were feeling. I understand that it looks like I'm playing in a game of respectability politics. But when you're just one of the girls who loves to be polished, that's part of it. It's part of the thing. And so it's not about, and so what I started doing with TransTech in the beginning, when I quit the job and I started my own organization, I started wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and a blazer to work all the time. And it was like my Steve Jobs outfit. You know what I'm saying? And I would wear a hoodie underneath the jacket. And I would show people that you actually don't have to do much. All you do is have to show up clean. Because what happens sometimes is some girls they're transient. They're coming from place to place or whatever. If you can I would have to take someone aside lovingly and be like, listen, I just need you to get the mustard off your shirt. You got a ring of makeup around your collar or whatever the case is. Like, let's do some things that are going to help you out. And so for me, it was a space of allowing whatever was being felt and experienced to be experienced, but also moving focus off of the external and now actually, do you know how to type?
Come on.
Do you know native speaking typing? Do you know how to use WordPress? Do you know? Because what was happening to my community is from other nonprofits, they were being, what's a word I can use? They were being devalued in ways and where it was fitting their metrics of handing out bus passes, of
Pizza.
25. Oh, so y'all know.
Still doing it, girl.
And still doing it. And let me tell you, and still doing it. And so the struggle I had in the beginning was the fact that I couldn't offer pizza. I wasn't offering bus passes. I was offering Wi-Fi, an office, computers, for people to learn skills and things like that. And they're like,
And
girl,
hope.
and hope, yes, and hope. I was offering
That's
those
the
things.
plan.
So it took a while because in the beginning, people were like, oh, like, she ain't offering nothing. Ain't nothing over there, whatever the case is. But what I realized was that they were taking advantage of my community in a way and not teaching them to fish. They were just providing this thing. And what I learned from so many people in my community is that some of us got hooked on the handout. Comfortable on the handout. And I know girls, older girls, who knew how to work the system, how to get an SSI check, how to walk, because since they thought we were crazy, I'm gonna show you crazy. And they got in and they went and got their checks and they're, on the system and all these different things, what have you. And then a whole new world opens up of opportunity, of things that you can do, and you see other people doing it. But what would happen is in the other nonprofits, you see someone at a job, at a desk, what have you, or speaking somewhere, and the girls are like, well, how did she get that job? Because they were just picking them. Whoever had the best do me wrong story, whoever could cry the tears and put their trauma porn so they could raise money, those were the ones they put into certain positions. But they didn't make it clear how you get the job is knowing how to tell. How you get the job is knowing the regular thing, the basic things around that. So I wanted people to know what the real path is. So it took a minute. People called me all kind of things. I got treated all kind of ways. I got, and luckily, this is how much I love my community. And to anyone who knows anyone who I have had beef with, please let them know that I love them. And that if anybody else, I was willing to take whatever misunderstanding, whatever grief or beef or whatever someone else had, and gave them the time to get to know me. Get to know that I'm still here. Past when I couldn't eat, when my bills weren't being paid, I had negative bank accounts. Everyone got paid in TransTech before I did. I still to this day have not taken a salary. I was that whole time.
We're working on that.
You are.
Retroactive.
A little retroactive. No, but I wanted to prove a point, and the point that I was proving was the nonprofit I worked for told me that computers were over the heads of the community that we served, and in essence, they were undervaluing not only the community, but me. My $34,500 a year salary with benefits was an achievement at that time. I had consistent checks. I had health care. So she's not gonna shake the table, so they thought. And so I had to tell them, you know what? Keep that. And I'm gonna show you how that I'm worth more and my community's worth way more. But before I got there, I had to go, things had to get worse first. My credit plummeted. My bank accounts were negative, and what I told myself was, you don't need to look at that scoreboard, because that scoreboard does not determine your value. The credit score, your bank account balances, none of that determines your value. And I worked over time and built this organization, and I felt bad in the beginning because I'm asking people to volunteer and what have you, when I know they're tired of being taken advantage of from cis-led agencies that don't center our causes. So volunteering for them was almost like a 4-letter word. But I had to take the time to get people to understand the value of volunteering. Because even though volunteering in certain spaces is bullshit, the reality is volunteering is an opportunity for you to show what you can do. You can get in a door and show someone that I'm willing to be an asset. And what I don't know, I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to get to know. But you gotta be willing to do that work. You can't think that a magic wand's gonna happen and all of a sudden your life is great. My life did not go great and all of a sudden I just looked cute along the way.
Come on.
You can look cute along the way. You don't gotta look like what you've been through.
You shut up. Let them use you.
And so, you know, I was building TransTech and having these TransTech summits. We had our first one in person in Chicago at the Groupon headquarters. It's doing all this stuff with our corporate sponsors. And one person who was volunteering from the beginning was EC. Wow. We were in like this basement of this house, programming all the computers, getting them ready for the summit the next day. I paid for his flight and for the time for him to actually pay to be a graphic designer on the spot or what have you. Because I wanted to do what we could do, the pieces that we could do, but he volunteered way more than we were able to give him. So I would say thank you for giving
All
him
right.
This has been the right person for me to hand this over to.
Yes.
Yes.
I would say, like Angelica said, I started off as a volunteer, and I was actually stealth. So for those that aren't community, I was not out as trans unless it was my people. So I was going to work, my business, getting a check, like Angelica said, benefits, and going home. And it was when you opened up the hub in Miami, at Pride Lines. And it was the day my job let you go do community service and get paid for it. You know, you can go. And I was like, oh, I can go be with my community. I can get my check. And I can talk to some people that are similar to me, have a similar lived experience in me, and they're also in tech. I was the only trans person that I knew of at my job, but I was also the only black man. So just imagine that. So being able to volunteer with Angelica, and sometimes I wasn't able to. There was a time where I got laid off from that job, and I told Angelica, like, I can't volunteer right now. I just don't have it. And the one thing Hope you said is working under Angelica, and I really want to like humanize Angelica, because I think a lot of people have this like, and I get it, but Angelica doesn't come with that work under situation, right? This whole situation has been us working beside each other. It's been a partnership. If I come to her with the idea, and we don't always disagree, I've come to her like, hey, Angelica, this don't look right. And she's like, you know what? It don't. I'm sorry, let's figure it out. Like, you know, so it's been a rewarding experience. And also, like she said, I didn't see this for myself, and now I am tapping into skills that I didn't know I had when it comes to leadership and nonprofit. Like, I'm a businessman. I run my agency, I get the work out, I collect the check, and that's the end of it. With this has been super rewarding, especially working with our corporate partners, just to see how many organizations want us in the building. How many companies want to increase their staff with trans people, with black trans women, with black trans men, with immigrant, non-binary trans people. They want us in the building. They want our experience in the building, because they understand that the more diverse they are, the better everything is across the board. And the one thing I can say is, with Angelica being the founder, I'm able to kind of talk a little bit more radical than most nonprofits when it comes to things.
I
like,
set a tone.
And she sets that tone, and I can kind of carry it with confidence of going in like, great, y'all have all these policies and HRC, corporate equality index. I want to talk to the trans people y'all have employed. I want to talk to the culture that y'all have in place, because I worked at a corporation that had 100% HRC corporate equality index, and I wasn't out as trans, and I already knew it wasn't safe to be out as trans at that job. So I know firsthand that the policy is one thing, but the culture is something completely different. So it's been super rewarding to get that, and also to see the people that are reaching out are TransTech members that work at these organizations.
Yeah. We are at time. I know that went really, really fast. Maybe one question from the audience, one quick question from the audience.
I wasn't ready for that.
Stand up, dog. Stand up, sister. Stand up, sister.
Not a 360 slang.
Yes, come on.
Stand up, sister.
Well, I just want to thank all y'all. I love y'all so much. Thank you, EC, for this moment in history.
Yes.
Most trans people in the room on Broadway. Okay. Thank you, Hope, for everything. Life, body, legs, hips, all of that. Thank you, Angelica, just for inspiring us all and taking up this space and making history. We love you so much. I just want to check on you and ask you, how is your mind, body, and soul?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking. It's not easy. I will say that. I'm again make it look pretty and good and all the things, but it's been so much work. To the point, it's been a lot of work and it's been very challenging, both on stage and off stage. You know, dealing with a lot. I'll just say that, just dealing with a lot. As a Black trans woman in a major moment, and seeing my people celebrate, but not being as celebrated as I think I should be. Not seeing my face everywhere. Not being on the, daytime shows. I mean, if I can see it, I can. So that has been a little disappointing, but I just know that this has been a great moment, and I hope that you all see yourselves in this moment to know that whether it's Broadway or business, you can do anything that you are willing to take responsibility for. And when I say responsibility, I mean the ability to respond.
Come on.
I love y'all. I'm gonna meet y'all outside by the stage door if you want to.